Hi, I'm Bones McKay, and I didn't make a script for this because Ursula was sick last night and we forgot to record. So get well, Ursula, and let's talk about something off the cuff. This is going to be poorly prepared, so be prepared for not my best. Today, I want to talk to you about not starting a webcomic, but finishing a comic, finishing a script, finishing a scene, finishing anything. I find that I've made a lot of videos about starting a comic because there are a lot of things that will get in your way from starting. Once you get past starting, you're in a whole other world, which is finishing, which is equally hard, if not harder. It's probably harder. It's one thing to start your comic and be prepared for it to be bad and be prepared to just get better and have a great time. And then it's another thing to do that. Once you start your comic, it's really exciting. It's really fun. It's fresh. It's new. But then it's going to suck. It's going to suck really hard. It's very difficult to get through working on something. And you have to kind of be prepared for that. I have a huge issue where I start a million projects because whatever I am not working on currently is my favorite thing. Because not working on something, you can forget about all the hard parts involved. You can forget about how much you dislike doing the exact same thing over and over again. You can forget about the fear of publishing your work and actually having people see it. It's kind of where things get a little more real. When you're starting your comic, it's kind of just a thing between you and yourself. But once you get closer and closer to the end, closer and closer to the possibility of actually publishing it or actually finishing it and hearing people's response or lack thereof, it just gets really real, and it's very easy to step in your own way and be like, well, I don't really like this thing. How could anyone possibly like this thing? I should stop. And, oh, I have a much better idea in my head right now that sounds way more fun and way more exciting. But you need to stop doing that, okay? You can't just switch your project every time it gets difficult for you. You can't just be like, oh man, I can't get through this scene. It's time for me to move on to something different. He can't do that. You have to sit down and work on things. Sometimes you are going to get to a point in a project where you realize that it is fundamentally broken, that you can't go further on it. And sometimes, it's just, you're not going to be feeling like a comic, like the comic that you're working on. You're just not going to be into it. But if you have a problem with constantly stopping yourself from finishing things, you have a million little projects that you've started and not saw through, it's time to see one of them through. It can be really scary because you can really love your projects and not want to do them dirty. You want to do them to the best of your ability, and there's always this feeling of what if I wait until later, when I'm better at writing, when I'm better at art, and then I can make this project and it can be actually good, and then I'll be okay and everything will be fine. But you're never going to get better if you don't finish things. And as you work on a new project and start falling in love with said project, you're going to start feeling the same way. You're going to be like, man, this is such a cool project, but I'm not good enough to write it. I'm not good enough to draw this. You have to draw it. You have to finish things. I mean, you don't have to, but if you want to be someone who finishes things, you have to start finishing things. You need to push yourself through these troubling times. And I'm not talking about things just taking a long time to create. That's a whole other issue that I am also dealing with. But I'm just talking about getting in your own way about things and just avoiding the difficult parts. And I'm literally just talking about myself, because right now I have the perfect excuse not to work on Avo. The economy has crashed. I don't know if you've known about that. Not a lot of people are buying things. I probably won't be able to do a Kickstarter this year. It just probably won't be feasible, probably wouldn't fund, and I might as well wait and see things to get better. I could totally shelve Avo, work on it later when everything is Gucci, just have a great time with that. Heck, working on it. But no, I can't do that. I'm halfway through my editing. I'm halfway through this editing issue. And I just need to get to the end of it. There's a lot of parts that are still rough, and it makes me sad when I write something and it isn't perfect. And boo-hoo for me, it's not perfect, right? But it sucks to make something that you don't feel is your best. But in order to get to your best, you have to write the crappy stuff. You have to draw the crappy art. And maybe later in the future you can go back. And in my case, I'm editing my book. So I definitely am going to go back and fix these things later. But I can't fix something that I don't have. I can't. You literally cannot fix something you don't have in front of you. You need it out of your brain in order to mold it, to whittle it down into something really great, really exciting, something that everyone will love. So make sure that you actually get things done. Okay? I'm speaking specifically to all of you people who have 5 million projects that are 10,000 words into each of them. Write something bad. Deal with the horror that is doing that. It's really gonna suck. You're really gonna hate it. It's gonna be like pulling teeth sometimes, but unfortunately, writing is like that sometimes. Unfortunately, art is like that sometimes. You need to just pull out your own teeth. That is what I am advocating for. Please, everyone, take some pliers and pull out your own dang teeth. You can't go to the dentist right now. It's too dangerous. Okay, it's not too dangerous. If you have a medical emergency with your teeth, the dentist will see you. But you can't get a cleaning done. So who needs teeth? I don't know what this metaphor is. I'm very sorry. I'm just saying that it's really difficult. And personally, I was stuck on a scene for like a month. And I was just being a baby who didn't want to write it. It can be really hard to like reinvest yourself into a work. Sometimes it's as simple as just rereading it and being like, oh man, I actually like this thing. Other times it's pulling teeth, okay? Other times it's just like, okay, no matter what I do, I'm gonna hate this, so I need to just get it out of my system. So you just set a timer for like 30 minutes and you write as terribly, you draw as terribly, you just make horrible art, but at least it's art. At least it's something. And that's where I am right now in the world, is just pulling out my own teeth. And shocker of shocks, I got my scene done yesterday. Currently, it's Camp NaNoWriMo, which is NaNoWriMo, but in the summer and spring. There is a camp in April. There's a camp in July. You get to set your own deadlines. NaNoWriMo is like National Novel Writing Month, happens in November, but there's other times. We have a cabin you can join. I'm doing like audio chatting, where we force each other to work. So if you're interested in that, hop on the Discord. But yeah, I was able to sit down for half an hour. I think it was like 2 hours. Maybe it was just 1 hour. And I finished this scene that I hated. And yeah. Stop changing your dang projects, Charlie. God, finish one of them. This is what Charlie said to make a video about them. And then I did. That's what this is. Congratulations. Goodbye.